journals back here at St James's Park for the pre-match press conference ahead of Newcastle's final Champions League group stage match against AC Milan here tomorrow night. Big game. Eddie Howe, that the magnitude of the game wasn't lost on Eddie Howe. Obviously he was asked about various things, injuries being one of them, but no doubt one of the biggest games of Eddie Howe's managerial career so far, John.
Yeah, huge. You only have to look at Eddie Howe's comments in that press conference to realise how big he knows this game is and the potential rewards tomorrow night if they can get a win here. Obviously, the fate of Newcastle United, the destiny isn't in their hands after that cruel 98th minute penalty from Curtin Mbappe. So, yeah, Newcastle need a win here tomorrow night and hope that Paris Saint-Germain drop points in Dortmund. Very doable. I actually think if Newcastle win here tomorrow, I have a feeling Dortmund might do them a favour because, okay, Dortmund have qualified, but they want to top that group and get that favourable tie, is what they call it, in the last 16. So Newcastle, to be fair, can only focus on their job. If they win, say they're through. But another incentive, if you like, is even if they avoid defeat here tomorrow night, they're still going to guarantee European football from February onwards next year in terms of the Europa League. So it's there's a lot to play for. I think Eddie Howe summed up really well. Newcastle worked so hard last season to get back into Europe. For it to be over before Christmas would be a real disappointment. So if they can continue their European journey, it'd be great if it's Champions League, it'd be great if it's Europa League, to be fair. But they know what they've got to do here, and yeah, fingers crossed they can't do it. I think I'll just round up the permutations there.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You get beat, you're out of Europe. You draw, you're in the Europa League. You win, you either come third or second, depending if PSG beat Dortmund. If PSG don't beat Dortmund and you win, you come second. If they do, then you come third. So yeah, that's it. And I think a big talking point, as it always is, injuries. Eddie Howe, probably as deliberately coy as I've seen him, Jordan, in terms of injuries. We saw the media get access to the Newcastle training ground for 15 minutes this morning, and we saw Martin Dubravka, Anthony Gordon and Sean Longstaff miss training despite being in the squad for the Spurs game just as the wind picks up. We're a bit further back than usual.
I'm trying to give you a vantage point, but I have a feeling it's not going to be paid off for you guys.
Well, it's raining as well, so we didn't want to get too close. But yeah, those three players missed the training session tomorrow, missed that 15-minute window the media got access to. And Eddie Howe was asked about that, and Eddie Howe basically said nothing, but we can try and read between the lines. What did you glean from what Eddie Howe had to say, Joe?
Yeah, did you name the players there then?
Yes.
Yeah, so deliberately coy. The three players, Anthony Gordon, Martin Dubravka, I think there's the third one, Sean Longstaff. Yeah, they weren't pictured in training. I mean, it's only the first 15 minutes, so for all we know, once the media left the training ground, Eddie Howe could have wheeled them out the dressing room for all we know. But yeah, he was asked about those three players. Should we be reading anything into those not being there? And Eddie Howe said yes and no. You can make your own assumptions. So that was his first answer, and then he got pushed specifically on Martin Dubravka, who then he admitted was slightly unclear. His availability is slightly unclear. So
he's a doubt, Dubravka.
Yes. So I'm trying to read in between the lines. I suspect Anthony Gordon will be okay. Sean Longstaff, you'd think, although they're probably just managing the ankle injury that he's had. You know, he might have a reaction to Sunday. We don't know, but off the top of my head, I suspect them two players will be okay. Martin Dubravka is a doubt, and I don't know. I've got no inside information here on Martin Dubravka's fitness, but I've got a sneaky feeling that it's Loris Carrison tomorrow. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, Martin Dubravka, like Eddie Howe was asked about it after the Everton game about a potential back issue for Martin Dubravka, and Eddie Howe said, I'm not sure about that, but he did take some knocks, and maybe 3 games in 6 days when you're dealing with something like that could be problematic for the player. Obviously, we don't know. Loris Karius hasn't played in the Champions League since that infamous 2018 Champions League final for Liverpool. He's only played once for Newcastle in a competitive game, that Carabao Cup final earlier this year, where Newcastle got beat 2-0. So not an ideal situation if Martin Dubravka is unavailable, because Eddie Howe said he doesn't want to rotate his goalkeepers if he can help it. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one whether Martin Dubravka is involved or not. And yeah, Sean Longstaff, Anthony Gordon, we'll wait and see. But Eddie Howe did mention the quick turnaround and players can sit out training. Kieran Trippier missed training, for example, ahead of the match against Everton. So players have different training schedules, different loads. We see Callum Wilson, or we hear about Callum Wilson missing training quite regularly. And we spoke to him today. He was the player put forward to the pre-match press conference, and a lot of sort of colour around his journey. He's played for Kettering Town in the conference and now preparing for Champions League football. He hasn't started for Newcastle since the 2-0 defeat at Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League last month. Picked up a hamstring injury, came off the bench against Spurs on Sunday. He said he's 100% ready to start, and he's eyeing that first Champions League goal.
Yes, he is, yeah. It's a debate. Should he start? Should he start ahead of Alexander Isak, who, if Alexander Isak was fully fit, then it would be my choice. But you think about what Isak's played, 5 games in 13 days. I think it's at, yeah. Well, anyway, it's 5 games in a quick succession, and having just only returned from an injury himself. So, you know, could you look at it where Eddie Howe decides to play Callum Wilson for an hour and then brings on Alexander Isak? Either way, he'll do that one of the two. It'll either be Isak starts and Wilson does the half an hour, or Wilson starts and Isak does the half an hour. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Eddie Howe goes with. I suspect it'll probably be Isak, albeit I say maybe he's like many of his teammates in need of a rest. But yeah, Callum Wilson, as you mentioned there, did say that he was 100% fit, and I'm sure for the player himself, he'll want to go in the Champions League. He talks about his records and the things he's done in football quite vocally on his BBC Footballers Football podcast. If he can add a Champions League goal to his, a fairly lengthy list of goals in the Premier League now, to be honest, I think it'll cap off many things he's done in his career in terms of goals. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Again, I think one thing that I picked up from Eddie Howe is the fact that he's actually really pleased to have these selection headaches again, if you like, because he's gone. Well, essentially went 5 games without being able to make any changes. At least with the return of Callum Wilson and Sean Longstaff as well, there is options there to either put them in from the start or freshen things up. Yes,
at the threat of derailing this completely, yes. I think there's a bit of.
Yeah, we'll do that.
There we'll go. No?
It's that light. Sorry guys, chaos.
Yeah. So yeah, Callum Wilson closing in on 50 goals for Newcastle, eyeing that first Champions League goal as Jordan tries to dodge the light. But yeah, on the injury front, Eddie Howe couldn't say, or didn't want to say, whether players would be returning from injury this week. But you understand, Jordan, we've got the likes of Sven Botman, Joe Willock quite close. Harvey Barnes isn't a million miles away, but a big one, Dan Burn, potentially returning sooner than expected.
Yeah, story on Newcastle World first thing this morning, Tuesday. But Dan Burn is closing on a return, set to be the next player to bolster Eddie Howe's squad, given up at being without so many players. What was it, 10 first team players? No, he went over there. 10 first team players. He was out at Tottenham. So again, Dan Burn comes in and gives them an option at both left back and centre back. I've heard there's a chance he'll be on the bench tomorrow. Now I've seen stories saying that he's going to be doing BBC 5 Live commentary tomorrow. That's great, but he's contracted Newcastle United, so if Newcastle United wanted to play and wanted to be on the bench, then he will be involved. So if not tomorrow, then I'd imagine he'll be back Saturday against Fulham, but there's certainly a chance that he will be back tomorrow. And it is a big boost because of the amount of players Newcastle are without, and we've all spoken about, or Eddie Howe has certainly spoken about Dan Burn's leadership in the dressing room, besides sort of his the way he plays, etc. So it's not only a body, but a big vocal presence in the dressing room as well.
And a potential blow for BBC 5 Live as well.
Yes, I see that.
Yes. Would be good to see Dan Burn back just for that body. Like we've seen. Thank you, Jordan. That's good. We've seen Jamal Lascelles, Fabian Schär, they've formed a good partnership for the most part, but the past 2 games, Newcastle have conceded 7 goals away from home. So important, I think, to be back here under the light. Newcastle, bit of a stat for you, never lost under the lights at St James's Park under Eddie Howe in a nighttime game, except the last time they played here.
I'm just going to hold this now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. In the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund, back end of October, wasn't it? So we'll be looking to continue the good form at home. And Eddie Howe made no secret. He said the fans are going to have to play their part, and he expects they will, because they do provide something. And we've seen the contrast in away form to home form, where Newcastle, the adversity of the injury situation just seems to be forgotten about when they play here at St James's Park, and it's been a real boost for them, and hopefully they can continue that in a must-win game. Let's not forget, against AC Milan tomorrow night.
Yeah, shout out to Craig Hope, actually, our colleague who was recording his YouTube video down there. He asked a question: Eddie, do you almost feel like you've got 2 teams, one that plays at home, and obviously Newcastle's home record's there, they've only lost once or twice in all competitions this season, and one that plays away, and continue to win on the road this season, just 2 wins in all competition, and only 1 in the Premier League. So I mean, that in itself just sums up the importance of Newcastle United's home form. It's very much a cliche at times, but St James's Park has generally been a fortress under Eddie Howe, and you mentioned there sort of all the adversity and that comes with all the injuries. You almost forget it here, because the fans, I think that's when Newcastle fans are at their best, when they feel like they've got something against them, and the injury situation has gone against them this season. But this place, for many games this season, has been a cauldron of noise, and they'll need that again tomorrow. Eddie Howe said that every person has a role to play in the stadium. They need to bring the noise, which I'm sure they will. It needs to be levels of Paris Saint-Germain, because that, in my time covering Newcastle United, Paris Saint-Germain was probably the loudest I've heard this stadium, and they need that again tomorrow, because it's a tough ask. Because look, AC Milan are bottom of the group, and people might look at that and think that they're a bad team. AC Milan are far from a bad team. They're dangerous. We've seen that at the San Siro, because if you think back, okay, Newcastle defended well, but for the large parts of that game, AC Milan battered Newcastle. Nick Pope made countless saves. I remember off the top of my head it was 7 saves in the first half. So however many saves he made in the second half, I suspect might be double or just under. So it's a lot of saves for a goalkeeper. Obviously without him tomorrow, but they're a dangerous outfit, AC Milan. There's still a chance that they can actually qualify if they win here and PSG lose in Dortmund. So they've still got a lot to play for. Again, even if they beat Newcastle, they've still got probably 3rd place to fall into as well as the Europa League. So they've got as much to play for as Newcastle. But of course, Newcastle it feels like it could be a historic night at St James's Park tomorrow, because if Newcastle can win here and say Paris Saint-Germain fail to beat Borussia Dortmund, it'll be the first time they've qualified for last 16 in the Champions League. Okay, they won the Champions League last time, they got the 2nd group stage, but in terms of how it's reformed, to get in the last 16 in the Champions League would be massive. And you think about the teams you could play in that final 16. So yeah, I've rambled about what could happen there, but Newcastle have got all to do on the pitch tomorrow, and fingers crossed they can't do it.
Yeah, it would mean an awful lot, because this is ultimately the pinnacle of club football. At the end of the day, this is what Newcastle worked for last season, finishing 4th. If it ended after 6 games before Christmas, even to drop in the Europa League would be a sort of a consolation prize, a positive consolation prize in a lot of ways. But they were drawn into the group of death, given no hope to get out this group, and now they're going into the final game with a realistic chance. It's against them, it's out their hands, but if they win and Borussia Dortmund can get a result against PSG basically, then Newcastle will be through to the last 16, and it's what you play for at the end of the day. Getting through these cup competitions, okay, Newcastle's chance of winning the competition is extremely low, or is low, but hey, if they get a draw in the last 16, a lot of clubs won't like coming here, and we've seen that in the Premier League, in the Champions League. PSG hotly tipped to top this group, got absolutely steamrolled at St James's Park back in October. So there's no reason why Newcastle can't get through. it's going to be a tough ask, and again the permutations are slightly complex in the fact that PSG could just go and beat Dortmund, and then Newcastle, no matter what Newcastle do, they're out of the Champions League. So yeah, it's a big game, and it's going to be a historic, or at least it's going to be a very important night at St James's Park. Hopefully it's a historic night. I'm in agreement with Jordan, that PSG game is probably one of the best nights I've experienced at St James's Park in terms of the atmosphere, the win, the performance was just incredible. But I think if they're able to do it, even if it's just a jammy 1-0 win, Dan Burn, I'll say that for you, Jordan, Dan Burn
off the bench,
popping up off the bench, stumbling in a goal, and winning 1-0, scrappy 1-0, I think that would probably be the highlight of Newcastle in recent years if they get through to the last 16. So hopefully they can do that. But it's a big ask, and it's something I think we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, say for us as journalists covering Champions League games is brilliant. So yeah, we don't want the European journey to end. You guys at home don't, although there has been suggestion that some Newcastle fans would like to see Newcastle exit.
Stupid.
Yes, I don't believe that. There might be an odd few, but on social media, I don't believe that.
Come on.
I would take Newcastle being in Europe for the second half of the season and probably having a similar start of the season that we'll have had currently. Look, I say they work so hard to get in European competition. Looking at the league table now, it looks like they're going to struggle to at least get top 4. So let's just enjoy it. Let's try and stay in Europe. And yeah, I say fingers crossed it is Champions League. But if not, as you mentioned there, Dom, a consolation prize with the Europa League would still be a hell of achievement, given that they've been in the group of death. So
yeah.
So wrap it up there.
I mean, just a quick one. I don't want to go all Liam Kennedy rant, but yeah, fans wanting Newcastle to get out of Europe. Come on, you're not serious there. This is, why do you watch football if not to enjoy the Champions League? You want Newcastle out of the Champions League to do what? To finish a place higher in the Premier League or something like that? Don't be silly. Come on, this is the best competition you can be in. You want to progress as far as possible. Okay, if it means like you lose on Saturday, it's going to be disappointing, and you want to finish as high as possible in the Premier League. But like at the end of the day, football never really ends, if you know what I mean. I'm rambling a bit here, but next season Newcastle will have a chance to be in the Champions League, in the Premier League, competing, and this is why you want to do it, to win trophies, to compete at the very top, and Newcastle are doing that at the moment. If they lose tomorrow night, okay, and they win on Saturday, what difference does it make? If they win tomorrow night, brilliant, they're still in Europe and they're still competing. And yeah, bit of a ramble there, I've gone all Liam Kennedy, but yeah, I just think Newcastle, the Champions League, it's been such a good journey so far, and I'd be very disappointed and very upset if it were to come to an end.
Yeah, especially, just to finish off, especially given that it was in their own hands up until that Kylian Mbappe penalty, which if Newcastle are to go out, on to qualify for the knockout stage of the Champions League tomorrow, I'm coming for you, Kylian Mbappe. Well, not Kylian Mbappe, sorry, I'm coming for the referee.
VAR.
I still haven't forgot it. Eddie Howe might have. He said that wasn't his fault in this game, but it's still in mine. So, but fingers crossed that doesn't cost him. Say we'll be here tomorrow night. Liam Kennedy will join us.
Yes. Too busy texting us asking for Callum Wilson quotes instead of actually being here tonight, but yeah, we'll see him tomorrow. It'll be a welcome return.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for, if you've got this far, tuning in. That's been a bit of a chaotic one with these lights. We're trying to manoeuvre ourselves around them, but the light keeps shining past my face. Yeah. I'd love to see how this looks on a big screen, but no, thanks everyone for listening. Please like, share and subscribe. Ring the bell for all your Geordie Journals content, and we'll see you at St James's Park on Wednesday.